Okay, I'm at 1629 East Crittenden Avenue, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're just looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. We're going in through a cast iron clean out. You can see I'm looking down in it. This is in the front of the house. The only thing this does prevent me from doing, there's no access point before this, meaning further back on the house. The bathrooms are in the back of the house, and so I'm not going to be able to inspect the line under the floor in the basement just because of limited access, but I will be able to inspect from this point out to the main. Most issues we find are outside, and so we will do a good amount of pipe, but we won't be able to do what's under the floor, again, because of lack of access. So I will run some water. I'll probably try to push the camera all the way out. We'll inspect the line that way, and then once it gets out there, I'll turn some water on in the bathrooms in the back, and just kind of that way we can kind of see what's going on, make sure everything's flowing freely. So again, this is cast iron in the clean out. And another thing is sometimes these are two-way, but when they put these in, the old cast iron ones, if you look straight down in there, you can see how the pipe is forcing me to go one direction, which is forcing me to go out towards the street. This is common when they would put these in. The good news is that this looks really open. Not a whole lot of rust right here at all. A lot of times you'll find these, it's only a little bit of cast iron here, but a lot of times you'll find these old cast iron and they will be, like rusted to the point where, they're kind of closed off a little bit. This looks really good. So, but we're going from that 4-inch cast iron, and we are dropping into a 6-inch clay, and this is normal. It looks like that white stuff looks like grease covering roots. As you can see, if you look closely, you can see some of it coming out, and those are like finger roots, and so the grease is just kind of coating it. It's not down in the flow line. There's some very, very minimal cracks here on the bottom of the pipe. It doesn't seem to be causing any present issues. It's not buckled or anything like that. It's just, it could have been there since, shortly after it was put in. But I would either put some chemicals down and at least pay attention to these roots coming in. You may want to have it cleaned in the beginning. Like I said, it says we're 10 feet in. But if we pull back, what I'm going to do is I'll pull back and I'll zero it out so we know exactly how far from the clean out we are. Because here I am vertical in the clean out, so I'll I'm going to reset the counter. You can see in the bottom left hand corner now we are reset to 0, and that'll tell us exactly how far we are from the clean out that those roots are at the connection. And about 4 feet. And then we go into that clay, and it's fairly normal to have, because you're going from a smaller 4-inch pipe to a larger 6-inch pipe, so there is a bit of a gap there, and it's pretty common to have that, how they packed it with the change of material and everything. It's pretty common to have some root intrusion there. Again, would also note that there is some cracking on the bottom, but it's not causing any issue. I would just make sure that the roots are taken care of so that those roots don't exacerbate the situation with the cracks and cause that to crack further. But there were no solids caught in that spot, so it doesn't look like it's causing a present issue, but it would need to be taken care of as far as the roots to make sure that they don't create any more issues or backups by catching things that go by, solids and whatever. I also do want to say, because this has cast iron, even in new PVC, I recommend never using wet wipes. They don't break down. Toilet paper, if you ever want to test it, hold some toilet paper next to the a wet wipe, run it underneath your sink in the bathroom, and watch one disintegrate like it's supposed to, being the toilet paper. And the other one, those wet wipes, they don't break down, so they very easily could catch on things and cause backups. Okay, looks like we've got a connection here outside. This is probably combined. That just means that the downspouts and stuff come into the same line as the sanitary, meaning the stuff from your bathrooms and kitchen. And it's common for this era. Yeah, looks like we have a little bit more root intrusion in the last two connections, you can see. And again, this is very common. With this pipe material, you'll have some root intrusion. You just need to make sure that this is maintained on a regular basis. By that, if it's done well, you can get 3 to 5 years in between cleanings. But you got to make sure it's somebody that's doing a good job. There's some roots there. So I'm sure this has been cleaned in the past. See, and this is a very minimal amount of roots. There's a little bit there. It's common for them to get in. The packing they used with some, breaks down over, the years that this stuff's been in the ground. You just have a little bit of finger roots. They're not causing any structural issues. They just tend to get in, and then those little tiny roots get to the water. If you let them go, they can cause issues. But as long as you continually, do maintenance on them every few years, either chemical or a physical cleaning, they should not be an issue at all. Keyword is maintenance. A little bit of water sitting on the bottom. That just means that the pipe is flat. It's not, it's a 6-inch pipe. My the lens is only about a ½ an inch off the bottom of the pipe, and not even close to that. So again, not an issue. We have some more roots here. And some more roots there. Yeah, so I'm going to recommend that this be cleaned. The thing is, a lot of this, it won't do anything. The cleaning won't be able to get those little tiny bits. You just have a couple spots that are a little heavy there. You want to make sure that they're not going to cause an issue in the future. A lot of these could be taken care of with a chemical. The only one I've only seen like 2 that I think are, getting close to the point where they would need serviced soon, and that was the first one that we saw right when the pipe changed over to clay. That one, those were getting close to the flow line with all the grease on them, and they could very easily catch something going by and then cause a backup. Structurally, the line looks really good. I haven't seen any issues at all as far as structurally. Like we are dropping now. You can see on the bottom left-hand corner, it also gives you a pitch with the angle that the camera is sitting, and you can tell we're dropping down, probably getting ready to drop right into the main here. This is probably the connection on the main. They tended to do this and kind of turn these pipes, and then they would also kind of move them around in the connection so that they could get a little bit more turn. But this doesn't want to go out past this spot. It's hitting that little bit of an edge. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the video here, because I can see that behind me it looks like this is I'm at the main. It's just turning to drop into the main at the last second. And so with that exposed side right there, it's just my camera's hitting it and not able to get past it. Obviously water and everything's getting past it. There's no solid buildup right there. You know, toilet paper or anything, so it's not causing an issue. It's just turning right there. My camera is so stiff that it won't make that turn without going up into that flat spot. So I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to go locate to verify that we are at the main, and then we'll come back and finish the inspection. Okay, so we are at the main. This is basically the connection to the main. That next connection piece is where it connects to the main. I'm right on top of it. It's on the other side of the street, in the grass in between the street and the sidewalk. You can see a manhole just, you know, maybe 80 to 100 feet down the street from where this where the camera's sitting right now. And so this is the last connection. If there was any damage to this piece, like you can see the back of the pipe. If you look to the top left, you can see that's the back of the pipe that it is connecting to, which would be, you know, it was dumping into the side of that pipe, so you can tell that the light is reflecting off the back of that. So this connection there, if there was ever an issue, that would be the responsibility of SD1 to repair. And we're just making that last turn to sweep into it to kind of help with flow. So everything looked good. I mean, the only thing, everything looked good structurally, just has some roots, which is not uncommon. So this is, I mean, it looked really good. You just have to keep up on the maintenance. Other than that, you know, I'm pretty happy with how well it's intact. All the seams look nice and tight on the clay. You just have, obviously, the packing tends to break down over the years, and you have a little bit of finger roots. And those don't become a problem unless you have some big old tap root. So keeping up on maintenance, again, I can't stress it enough, is that's the most important thing. You just keep the roots at bay every few years, and the line should be good for years to come. But I'm going to pause the video again, and I'm going to go run some water in this downstairs bathroom, flush the toilet and run some water, and that way we can witness kind of how well it's flowing as we pull the camera back. Okay, so water hasn't reached us yet. So weird kind of pause in the video, but the water hasn't reached us yet, and so I'm going to wait for a second. I did flush the toilet twice, and I'm running some water in the sink in the bathroom downstairs. Sometimes it takes a minute for the water you're going. You know, that water's got to travel 80 feet, and it's all by gravity. So here we go. I think it's starting to pick up here. There we go. We'll just make sure that this is all flowing nice and easy as we go back. This might happen because all this water flowing. You might have some spots now that are holding more water until it dissipates. Again, we were able to inspect all this on the way out, and we're just kind of watching on the way back to make sure that this is flowing free and easy, and that we didn't, you know, there aren't any spots where it's, you know, holding up. We're also kind of making sure that everything's making it through the cast iron well, because that's about the only thing we can do is do a flow test without being able to see the condition of the interior cast iron. Going by the 4 feet or so that we're able to look at from this point out to the edge where it goes into clay, looked really good. But again, we're unable to inspect it with the camera from this point back to the bathrooms. But as you can see, the water level is staying nice and low. Everything's flowing smoothly. There's a small, that's one of the bigger root balls right there on the right hand side, about 44 feet. But it looks like there's a huge tree in the front, and so this is not surprising at all. It's actually kind of surprising it's not worse, but this may have been cleaned. You know, they may know this, and maybe they should be maintaining it enough to keep it from causing issues. Again, see, just little tiny bits of roots. That's not much at all. Looks like we're pulling back in. Should be coming up on the connection to the cast iron shortly, and that little bit of roots that we were talking about with the grease on them should be right here. And there we are. So yeah, sometimes this is harder to clean right here just because it's right when it goes through the transition and then it gets into a bigger pipe. But we do know it's 4 feet out, maybe 4 to 5 feet out, and that these are just getting to the point where you can see that on the left it's kind of getting down into the flow line. It's kind of touching the water. So if you did flush something down there that you shouldn't, or if it was a large piece of material, it could possibly get caught on those roots and back up behind it. So you just want to make sure that those are kept at bay. Those are nowhere near 100%, and there's could be a lot worse, but that's again just something to watch and make sure that this is maintained just to prevent any kind of buildup in the line. But we're back vertical, and we're coming out of the clean out there, and so just to reiterate, structurally everything looked really good. We just have you have little bits of roots along most of the length of the pipe, at least the first like 60 feet or so, which would make sense. That's within the reach of the tree that's sitting probably right on top of the sewer line, based off of where I am and that tree is. And so I'm just going to recommend that you do some regular maintenance, maybe do a cleaning, light cleaning to start off with, and then do some regular maintenance for every 3 to 5 years. You may want to go back and camera it at a later date in a year or two or whatever, if you're worried about it, just to kind of get a gauge on how fast the roots are growing and how often you should maintenance it. But it should be, with regular maintenance, there shouldn't be any issues with the pipe. So that'll end the inspection at 1629 East Crittenden Avenue.